And welcome to the What the Shuck podcast. The goal of the What the Shuck podcast is to provide a platform to positive and influential people of Kentucky and Appalachia. My next guest is a long-term friend and one of the most talented musicians in the area, but also one of the most thoughtful people in the area. This will be our second episode. I appreciate you, brother. We've done some other stuff on content, like on Instagram, but this will be the second official episode of What the Shuck. But my next guest is Mr. Nicholas Jamerson, the Appalachian apostle, is what I believe I read in Rolling Stones one time.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, they
were. Thought you made that up.
No, I wish I was that clever. It was in Rolling Stones, but yeah, man, thanks for coming on, bro.
Everybody, thanks for having me.
So you have lots of big stuff coming up. We've been having some really good conversations. The last time we got together and did a podcast, we literally talked for like 3 hours.
Yeah, I had to set my alarm today.
Yeah, you were like,
I got stuff to do after this.
Yes. So we've just been talking a little bit about just the human experience, music, and all the things with life. You have a daughter now. When we had our last episode, you were about to have a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And so that experience of fatherhood, and then also we were talking about how just between Sunday Best and your own solo stuff, it seems like kind of going on all cylinders. So kind of walk us through what life's been like in the last 2 years a little bit. I know that's a lot,
wow.
But we've been talking about it, and I think you could kind of summarize it for sure.
I mean, 2020, I feel like it was a reset in a lot of ways for me. And you know, it started with the shutdown, and then 3 days into the shutdown, having I can speak up some too. You know, getting pregnant. I think going through that whole process was, I mean, you really have to. I had to surrender to it, and just I feel like that whole year in general was a lot of just finding my foundation in myself and in life, and get back to. I mean, I don't know that I ever really had stopped to do that, you know, and we were all forced into it in some way or the other, and I just tried to with having the baby, like, just one day at a time, and just trying to control what I could, which was, I felt like, my mindset and my mind. And her birth was so, we had these plans of her, we wanted to deliver her naturally, mm-hmm. because of just learning about the birthing process and how many things can affect the mother from doing that process naturally. And we had to take her a month or a week early because she was so small, and we were afraid of that not being the case, like where we were going to have to do things. And luckily there was a process where they could jumpstart the system, my partner's system, to like make that happen. And it was just me and her in the room, pretty much by ourselves, delivering this kid naturally, you know. So,
I didn't even know this.
Yeah, so
this is awesome.
So never prayed more in my entire life. It was like a 24-hour prayer, pretty much, and we very much called upon our ancestors and called upon God. And there was a moment, like, she couldn't eat because my baby mama couldn't eat, because it was just that was just something, like, and there were, except for like broth, and mm-hmm. there was this moment that she was like, I'm so hungry, and I was like, I prayed. We were like, you know, let us, like, Lord God, let us, like, give her what she needs to be okay in this moment. And I swear, as soon as we prayed, the lady walked in with like chicken broth and Jello, and we were both just like, okay, like, it's all going how it's supposed to. And Maven, she, you know, it was crazy too, just watching the process of the birth and basically contractions is like the female body opening to push this baby out, and how so much of the process was like just getting out of the way. Mm-hmm. It was like a lot of just breathing and allowing like the body to expand. And good.
Yeah.
And
I just like to check from time to time.
Yeah, I hear you. And I found a great lesson in that. Mm-hmm. Of like sometimes you just need to breathe and like let things pass, because that's what happens. Like the contractions would come and then you get through it. And I was like, man, it's such a parallel to life. Mm-hmm. And how so there's so much trauma around birth. And I got to commend Irene for just like, we just tried to get out of the way. We tried to weather the storm and get out of the way. And all these changes were happening to her body without her thinking about it. It was happening to her. And it was just sacred, man. Like, because you're in this space of like, a new life is coming into this plane, and this force of nature is coming into this woman, and it's happening, and I get chills, just thinking about it. And Maven was small, but it allowed, and it happened a week earlier than we planned, but we wrote this song that ended up being a Sunday Best single last year called Right on Time. Mm-hmm. And that's what we were just trying to, that was like our mantra. Like everything is happening as it's supposed to happen. It may not be how we think it's going to happen, mm-hmm. or when we want it to, but like trusting that there's a plan unfolding. And that was just our faith. I feel like that was like a lot of our foundation was like finding faith and like what does faith really look like. And I think that's the journey that I've really been on for about 7 years now, of like, what does faith look like? And growing up in church, you have these foundational principles that are kind of thrown at you, but dogmatic, and not really knowing how to apply that to life. And I feel like 2020 was like finding faith and applying it, and what does it look like? And there's just so many things that happen in the process of child yielding that are out of your control, that you'd be overwhelmed if you try to like rationalize everything and all the decisions that have to be made. And like I said, it was like more of like just be present, and it was easier said than done, obviously, like, but it was just a practice like anything else. And it definitely, it's been a hard 2 years, in a lot of different ways. And I mean, 20, 21, 22, they were all super intense. And and then like 2021 was like a lot of, it was even more like this foundational, brand new child. And I kind of took a break. Like 2020 like really broke me. And as far as like making music in my career, like the Wild Frontier, that was something I'd put so much into. And then the world shut down, and it humbled me, because I was like, I've done all this work, and I thought I'll release this record and I'm going to be busier than I ever have, and I'm going to do everything I've always wanted to do. And it was like, more so I feel like what it was you've learned all these lessons, now it's time to like apply them.
Yes. Yeah.
Not just talk about them.
You kind of had written a book about like how you were going to actually get through the pandemic without knowing like this is what this soundtrack is.
Truly, it was for me. And I mean, I knew that going into it. Like, it wasn't like the Wild Frontier. It was like, these are my 16 best commercially, commercial trending songs. It was really my journey back to myself, to God, Jesus, and what all that looked like. And yeah, it was like, okay, now you're going to practice this. You're not just going to talk about it. And I think that for me, I've always been like, as the oldest child, I've been an asshole for sure to my siblings, but
Same.
I've always tried to like help them and try to like take what I knew and try to like convey it to them. And being on teams and just like, yeah, I think it's like in my nature to like share. But sometimes, and what I've learned is like, I need to like shut up and listen and just like take care of myself sometimes and like just worry about what I'm doing and wash my own hands, and that's, I've definitely used my platform to like self-help, but it's just easy to get caught up talking to everyone else and not really practicing your own stuff. So that's what 2020 and 2021 was for me, and just kind of taking a step back from the recording process and the writing process, because I just feel like I've been in all these cycles of writing, recording, releasing, touring for up to 2020, 15 years.
Yeah. How does that feel, by the way? Like, did you ever expect when you started playing at like in Pikeville just randomly, like, did you ever expect one day, like, I'm going to be, I know we've talked about you going to Nashville, but like, did you ever like expect like, hey, this is going to be like how I'll make a living? Like, literally, and you do.
I mean, it's what I wanted to do, but as far as what that looked like.
But to everyone, it sounded like a pipe dream. But we were talking earlier about like how you've been able to always have that focus that just some people don't necessarily have. But that's why, like I was asking you earlier, if that was why you've been able to do what you've done, like in terms of like just not being fazed by like what you do, because you've always kind of been on the stage between sports and church and now music, and it's kind of just natural to you at this point, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, focus, it's just like remembering what you're there to do, and I've definitely been caught up in the highs and the lows. Like, it surely is a roller coaster ride, because that's the difference in it from sports, is that there's championships in sports and there's an off season in sports.
Yeah.
And when you're self-made in a lot of ways, like, nobody's going to sit and tell you to stop, especially when you're first getting going, because you're just trying to get something off the ground. And that was just what I was stuck in for a long time, was like this, like, fighting to just create a foundation, essentially. But when I had to stop, I was like, oh, I do have a foundation. Like, I have 11 records.
Yeah.
And that was a thing that I kind of had to, it was like a come to Jesus moment, was, you've done enough. You can chill. You can relax. Or at least, like, in that way, like, just trust the work that you've done. And
You've been doing it.
Huh?
You've been doing it.
Yeah, but
something's working, or you wouldn't have 11 records.
Yeah, but you just don't always see the return in real time. That's another thing that's just different from sports. Sports is right. I mean, obviously there's a preparation stage, but like, you win or you lose, and that's just not really how life is. And so I kind of got to take a step back and reevaluate and just be a dad, enjoy being a dad. And I got to spend so much time with my daughter in those early, and her mother during that time, and I really just tried to enjoy that, because I was like, this is something that I've waited my whole life truly to experience, and I feel like I was just given this opportunity to really do it, and it's been awesome. It's been really hard, but it's just like it took me out of my own BS and my own just the rhythms that I was in. I was like, it was like just learning a new way of living, and so it was, it was good. But and then last year, 2022, I was like, okay, I'm ready to sort of. I'd reevaluated. I had sort of looked at how I wanted to operate. I'd spent 2 years just kind of, when I go back into this, I want it to be different. Mm-hmm. And John Smithwick, he was a big person for me, like sounding board in like 2020 to like help me navigate all that stuff. And so I, just kind of flushing everything out. And then last year started putting the team together.
You can, like, as someone who I would say I'm very privileged to be a little bit closer to seeing what you do from the inside than a lot of people that might be watching. But, like, as an outside observer still, from a media standpoint, it's like I definitely see that, like what you're saying, it's like essentially like you were just polishing everything up and sharpening the tools, and then you're like, now let's go to work.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, dude, you have 2 albums coming out this year. I mean, you have Sunday Best, you have Peace Mountain, so you got Feel Good Country and Peace Mountain. So it's like, clearly you were doing some work during this, and so I'm sure it's pretty cool to just, like we were saying, it's like there's not a championship, there's not a way to quantify like exactly what success is in a way other than like what meets the eye. I was talking earlier about how, like, with me, it's like I've been grinding for 3 years, finally started getting ads. By the way, this podcast was brought to you by Thatcher's Barbecue. So thank you all to the team at Thatcher's Barbecue. That's in Slade, Kentucky. They have some of the best barbecue in town. They actually helped us when we did the event with Katie upstairs. That was really cool.
That's her name.
Yeah.
I said that's her name, Katie upstairs.
Yeah, Katie upstairs. Yeah, that's her. That's what her new album's going to be coming out. But Katie Tupin. Sorry, Katie Tupin, and Nicholas and I shot a live stream upstairs, and we're able to raise some money for Appalachian Pioneer Program. And Thatcher's teamed up with us on that. They've teamed up with us many times, and they're all about presenting a platform to people of our region and giving them a voice. Mm-hmm. So I always love to team up with them, and they teamed up with me on this podcast. So thank you all to them. But it's just like finding ways to, shameless segue, by the way.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Yeah. But we were talking about like accepting fate. And it's like that, there's a Stoic saying called amir fati.
Okay.
And what that means is just being in love with your fate. And it's essentially meaning like we're married to it, so we have to be. And it's like the problem is always what people do about something that happens, not what happens to them.
Yeah.
And so it's like we didn't choose what happened in 2020, but I was at a point of maturity in my own personal journey that I saw and was like, hey, this is a time of great reset. Everyone else is going to be slowing down, but I've been building to be prepared for this moment, kind of in a way.
Yeah, totally.
And so I had the infrastructure prepared to kind of do the reset, but also be ready to work while everybody else was kind of taking it easy. And so it's like when you are able to slow down, and I respect that so much about you. I know that like during the winter, you usually are kind of like, at least the last few years, because like you said, I'm sure you just got burned out from just going and going and going. And so I always respect that. You're like, no, this December to like January, February, I'm kind of not. I'll do a little here and there, but like, you're not like, because during the summer you're kind of going all out.
Yeah, it's the time to do it.
Yeah. And that makes sense. People are out more. You're going to get bigger crowds. You're going to get more draw. So it's like, you don't want to be in a little tiny room and have like 200 people. It's like, it's awesome to sell a 200 person room out, I'm sure, but it's like, but you could have like an outdoor event with 10,000 people or something. It's
and just, it's like you have to rest so you can go and give during that time. And yeah, for so long I was just like year round, and I just can't do that.
Have you ever heard that the natural calendar was actually disrupted, and that we're supposed to have
Gregorian
more months? Yeah,
like we're supposed to be 13.
yeah, we're supposed to have 13 months, and it's like about the like human cycle, and that's like where the birds and the bees and like all that stuff comes from. And
Yeah.
if you look at the names of the months, they don't technically make sense.
Yeah.
It's like October should be the 8th month.
Yeah.
Like there's like so many parallels with that. It's just like, I
Like
wonder what the intention was.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was like to purposefully throw us off a rhythm, or if it was just like, hey, we have too much power, we're just going to change everything because we can. You know?
Yeah, dude, yeah.
But I think regardless of that, it's like, I think that nature will tell us, you know.
Well, I think that's kind of what I'm
Getting
alluding
at.
to, is that you seem to be like, I know there's a 12-month calendar, but this 13th month is like mine.
Yeah, well,
Essentially.
it's like, you know, what has nature been doing since November? You know, it's like the leaves fall, everything dies, and
A rebirth period is about to happen.
we have to regenerate. We have to
Yeah.
rest and regenerate. So in the springtime, we can, you know, we're reborn again.
Yeah.
You know, that's the yearly cycle, and instead of just like, I think that's why, like, for me, like the end of the year and the holidays have become like, there's new meaning to it. It's like really celebrating the year, and not like forgetting it, but it's like, okay, that happened last year. Like it's now we have to kind of rest. To me, it's like rest in the work, rest in everything you've done. You know, Thanksgiving and the harvest. It's like we're not there's not a lot of farmers, but it's like we all have harvest of what you've done, and to be thankful with family, because it's like it's hard to get family together. But I will say, like, you know, my siblings, as busy as they all are in their own separate grind, like, and my parents too, it's like we will get together for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and at least one day, you know, and I really cherish that more than ever, because it just doesn't happen as often.
And you see that is like not going to always happen too.
No,
It's
doesn't.
like, people kind of forget, like you said, people get so caught up in like what's going to happen in like 2 years, when like it's like, who cares?
Yeah, for real. I mean, you can be building, like, planning, but you can't do it. This is Star Wars. Like, you can't worry about the future at the sake of the present moment.
Yeah.
Like, you can think about the future, but not dismissing what's right in front of you.
You can't sacrifice the present for the future.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, you can build for it, kind of trying to plan, but we just only have so much say. And, you know, it's good to plan and be prepared and do all that stuff, but, you know, you just can't get it's balance. You know. So, yeah, I'm about this time I'm starting to like move a little bit more and just prepare for the active season. So
You got a really active season coming up.
yeah.
You got 2 albums coming out, so kind of tell us about that's the work you've been doing with, I guess, Sunday Best. We'll start first because that comes out this Friday.
The third.
Yeah, this upcoming Friday.
Yeah, you know, that process, we did that record in Georgia, in Winder, Georgia, in 2021, around this time. I don't remember exactly when it was, but my daughter was very young. And we worked with Levi Lowry on that, and Levi did, he's the one who recorded The Wild Frontier, and he has a studio at his house, and that's the first record Chris and I had done together since 2016, 17 maybe, I don't remember, maybe even before that, with Almar Sky. But, you know, that was the first time that we were just basically getting reacquainted with each other. And it was a really healing project to do, to just be with him, and knowing that, you were saying something earlier. I don't remember what it was, but it's more to me now about like, how do I feel in the process of things? It's not like so much worried about what's going to happen, but like, how do I feel doing everything? There's no championship. Enjoying the process. And so it was good to be in that space with him, and knowing that there's so many people out there that love Sundy best, and this was going to be something that was really heard, and highly anticipated. There was no pressure, and it was like good to be in that space with him and my daughter and her mother. Maven makes a couple appearances on the record, and it's called Feel Good Country. And the first track on the record is, I recorded it in my shed. Me and Chris did. Like, it was one of the first times we hung out after we had started hanging out again. And so just trying to enjoy it. Again, it felt like it was like all this practice that I had been doing over the pandemic, because that's pretty much what I had to do. Was I invested in some home studio stuff, and like really tried to refine myself. And I mean, I played pretty much every string instrument I could on the record. I played bass pretty much on every song. Played mandolin, acoustic, electric guitar, sang a lot of harmony, and I felt like I was really, for me, I felt like I got to really showcase myself, just to myself, in the process. And we did it in like a week. We did it in like 4 days, the whole thing. And it was really good. We just kind of been sitting on it, just waiting for the right time to release it. And we released that music last year, and I love it. It to me, it reminds me a lot of Door Without a Screen, except we're in our 30s. Yeah. Just a little bit more chill. I remember doing that Door Without a Screen, and I did this for a long time in the studio, of feeling like you give good performances through force. And because, being a young person, listening to someone like Chris Stapleton, it's like, man, he's got this big, powerful voice. He does it all with force. And there is force there, but there's so much nuance and there's so much finesse like in it. And, I think that just comes with experience of, you can't just do everything 100 miles an hour. There's nothing in life that you can just do that all the time. But that was kind of a reflection of my state of being. It's like, oh, you're just like pushing forward. That's the John DeRosset in me, of like, seriously, like sports of like just hard, like, and
we're not bird dogging this play. We're going 100.
Yeah, and that'll get you somewhere.
Yeah,
but is it sustainable? It's not. It's not.
No, it's not.
That's why people do cocaine and do all these uppers, because they have to get that high. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I don't want to have to rely on that to get me up.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
So it's like, again, it's like creating this state of being that's sustainable. That's just more sustainable and coming from a more centered place, and that's just what I feel like music allows me to, like, it's like I can hear it. I can hear it if I'm like singing hard or like where I'm at. And that's what I love about making music, is like it's like this stamp in time of where I was at and when I was doing it. And I listen to those early records and it takes me back. It takes me right back to that. And I used to judge it, but now I'm just like, what a gift to be able to have that, to like kind of relive past experiences and then get to like learn from it.
Something I really like seeing you do and listen to your music is when you do like the Facebook Lives, you'll play songs that you used to play, and it's like the tone has changed. It's the same words, but it's like it's a different song because you're in a different place.
Yeah.
It's the same meaning, but it's like you're presenting it in a different way, and I always think that's really interesting to see how artists break down that and just kind of like revise their own work to make it what it is, where they are in life. We were talking a little bit about artists and where they are, and like how that's just the reason they're writing like that is because that's the place where they are in life.
Yeah.
And so sometimes people like it, sometimes they don't, but like there's no way around it. That's just their experience in the moment.
Yeah.
And so I always appreciate when artists are able to do that. It kind of shows that song in particular was maybe very meaningful to them. And now that with you, I notice it like all your stuff is like more bluesy now, or like kind of slowed down, and like
I've definitely thought more about rhythm, and how the music sounds. I think for a long time I just had something to say.
Sounded good even then.
Yeah, I mean, there's still room for that, but I guess now I'm just more interested in the actual music, and I want to make people dance. I want to make people move around and just, and I personally feel like my voice, like it's more suited for that. Growing up where I grew up and singing in bars, it was a lot of country stuff, and I also feel like I also used to think like you need to sing things the highest and hardest you can, and now it's just like, especially being just older, and just wanting to not be so wore out by the time I get off stage, or then after a 3-day weekend, like just killed. It's like you need to play songs that are sustainable for your voice, and you're not having to be so up all the time. I was just getting in bars and screaming for 3 hours, and I just, and being drunk. Then you could kind of push through the damage and the trauma I was doing to myself. I'd wake up and I couldn't hardly talk, and not drinking and like really singing and getting into the nuance stuff, the finesse side of it. It's like, oh, I really need to be like sober to sing the way I want to sing, how I want to feel, and the just the vibe that I want to create, in that environment. I need to be sober to do that. So it's a game changer of like just a whole reset of, okay,
how many days are you at now? I think you said like,
I don't know, but it's like September. I haven't had a drink.
I mean, and you got a lot of crap going on now too, so it's like there's probably no coincidence that you've been highly productive since September.
Totally. I mean, October came and I looked at it and I was like, I've not been a big drinker in a long time, but I'd have 2 or 3 beers. Yeah. But I was like, I don't even have room for that, because the things that I want to do, I don't have the time, like, because for me, during that reset, I also developed a red meat allergy, and like I was down to like 160 pounds. Yeah. People thought I thought
you had cancer or something.
Yeah, or drugs. Like so many people did. So many people were worried about me.
I know he's on drugs, so he must be like sick or something.
I mean, that's what, so many people, but I just got so sensitive to everything after that. And so like 2 or 3 beers, it wasn't really I was inebriated, but like the processing of it, like after, like the day after, I would just be so tired, and I was just like, man,
your body was probably having to work so much harder on doing other things.
Exactly.
It's like, dude, I just don't even have time for this.
Exactly. I didn't. Same with weed. Yeah. Cut that out.
So you started getting hangovers from weed, or
it was just
felt lethargic.
Lethargic, yeah, and it just felt like it flared my nervous system up. Like I would just be, like I would just think myself into like a headache.
Interesting.
Or like just like tension in my body, and
like when you just wouldn't have it, or like
when I would have it.
Okay.
Like I would, it's like it's such a stimulant for me. Like it's not,
I'm the kind of the same way. I'm more like,
yeah, I want to do all this stuff.
Yes, yeah.
But then it was like I would do it until I would just like work myself into like a frenzy, and it just wore me out.
Maybe I've never thought of it, but maybe that kind of to an aspect numbs me to be like I can keep doing all these things.
Yeah, when
kind
you
of just like
yeah,
alcohol or cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't need to go to the nth degree.
Yeah.
That's what it was for me. It was like I don't have to go there. I feel like I've been a cosmonaut, like in my own psyche and like the layers of reality and causes of everything. And I just got to this point like I don't need to know everything. I don't need to be like, because I think a lot of introspective stuff comes from smoking marijuana, or however you consume it, and I just like, you know what? I don't have to go there. It was good. It's like I feel like I've learned so much from
the perspective.
That perspective
yeah.
of kind of zooming way out. But sometimes you just need to be present and live your life. I mean, you do. I think it's good to go there and see it and like, expand, but I just couldn't live in that space all the time. And, we've definitely had our times of being philosophical and like examining things, and I still am that way, but there's,
I think that might be my great fatal flaw. Like, I think even with like girls that I see, they're like, dude, fucking just like chill out.
Yeah.
You can chill.
Yeah, you
Come
can.
down to earth.
Yeah.
You don't have to be so high all the time.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Yeah.
Your mind doesn't have to be, like you said, overlooking everything, being like, what's going on over here? What's going on over here? What's going on over here? And I do that, man. And I'm sure that that's kind of off-putting to, I'm sure it's endearing to the fact that they're like, this guy's very curious and wants to find out, but then they're like, he's also a little bit too damn curious.
Well, there's a time and a place for it all, and I think, it's...
Well, I just smoke weed and then I'm immediately like meerkat.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's outside? What's going on over here?
Exactly.
Like, oh,
and that's why people get paranoid.
Yeah.
That's why...
I've learned to use it, though.
Yeah.
Or I think at least.
For sure. I think there is use for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's definitely a middle ground with it. I just, it's what I learned. I've noticed about myself is like, it's a dopamine response. For me, it's like, you get high, but then it's like, I feel like I just get in that mode. I think there's room for pleasure and everything, but I never thought I had an addictive personality, but I don't even know if that's what it is, but it's just like, I don't know, weed especially just kind of kickstarts my pleasure seeking and like needing to be stimulated. And
you think it's because it's actually almost like the opposite of screwing with your nervous system in the way that it actually maybe relaxes it so much that you're just like, I need stimulation?
I don't know. No. I mean, like, it stimulates me and I like it, so I want more.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's so like abundant that it allows your nervous system to be relaxed to where you're like not as in control, and it's like, I need more.
I don't know. Maybe.
Is weed a spirit?
Yeah, I mean, I think like, everything has its own frequency, so...
People will say I'm silly, but like people will be like, I'm a vegetarian because like animals have feelings, and I'm like, dude, a plant, you could argue that thing's intelligent in its own way too. Like,
totally.
It sounds like I've been smoking a lot of weed, and this is a crazy thought, but it's just like,
I mean, you look at is it mycelium, like the mushroom, like the network, like we're learning that nature's alive.
Oh yeah.
That these
that's pretty much like a little computer.
Yeah. So, but I think the difference with animals is like they experience like emotions and trauma.
Yes.
In a lot of these settings and how they're felt. And I mean,
it's an evolutionary response to be able to do that, though.
Yeah.
That's what we're intended to be able to handle, but it's like, yeah.
But there's cortisol that their bodies are producing because of the places that they're in, and I definitely see that, that side of not eating meat and with having that red meat allergy, like it's definitely shown me like there is benefit in not eating so much of it, but man, it's so nutrient dense, it's hard to really, it's hard to, it's hard to get.
I'm not gonna lie, every time I take a big bite of a steak, I'm always like, I feel bad for you. This fucking thing right now.
I do miss it. But
dude, a good cheeseburger.
I know.
But they're the worst for you. They're the most like nutrient dense, but they're also like the worst for you.
Pork's really bad for you too.
See, I think that my thing for pork has been from you. I have almost completely stopped eating pork, and it was just like having conversations with you about pork.
Sorry.
No, but it's like I look at bacon even weird now and be like,
yeah.
Ugh, like
yeah.
We had a conversation once, and I went and looked up a bunch of stuff about pork, and I was like, dude, there's a reason why so many religions are like, I'm not going to touch it. It's not good for our temple.
Oh, for sure.
And it's like, well, they didn't say anything about microplastics in the Bible, so let me keep drinking that. But it's just like, dude, I've had a unique journey. I've been a complete turd of a human, and then also like ran completely efficiently. So I went and got some blood work done for life insurance, and they were like, dude, you're like perfectly healthy. And I was like, hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Like your blood pressure is 120/80. Like we checked it 3 times. I did get a bad diagnosis though that I didn't expect. I've been lying to girls on like Tinder and Hinge and saying I'm 6 foot for like 6 years. And they measured me and they were like, you're 5'10" and a half. And I was like, wait, what did you say? What? They're like, yeah, 5'10" and a half. I was like, I measured it again. They're like, well, sir, it's like to scale. It's been scaled for the purpose of this insurance policy. It's like important. And I was like, important in the way that it's like not scaled right? And she's like, no, it's definitely scaled right. I was like, but like, is there any like, could I get a second opinion? She's like, it's perfect, I promise. So I was like, damn. I said, the worst part about this is the in a half part. Because I'm like, that's like the little kid that walks up to you at a party and is like, I'm 4 and a half. And you're like, kid, you're fucking 4 if you have to say and a half. Like, so I guess I'm 5'10". I'm lying, ladies.
You should just round up.
Yeah, I'm 5'11".
Yeah.
I went on a date recently with a girl that was like 6 foot tall. And I was like, you could dunk on me, but I'm cool with it. I was like, I used to be your height. And she's like, you used to be. I was like, well, I was lying to myself. I didn't know I was lying to myself. I got measured once, and this lady was like 6'3", and she's like, you're 6 foot. And I was like, cool. She also had a little bit of a crush on me, so I was like,
she was trying to make you feel better about yourself.
Maybe herself too. Yeah. She's like, I can't be dating this short king over here when I'm 6'3" and he's only 5'10" and a half.
Yeah, that's
a pretty big difference.
Yeah,
but yeah. So I was like, damn. Did not see that coming. That ruined my day.
I'm sorry.
I was like 5'10" and a half.
They make inserts now.
Yeah.
That you can just lie to everyone.
Yeah. True. I'm gonna be that guy that shows up and like you're like Austin Shuck disappeared for like 3 years and then came back like 6'7", and I have those like broken leg implants.
Oh gosh.
Dude. Well, we've been talking for a while. I want you to get a plug. A couple more things real quick,
okay.
And we'll finish up. But talk about Peace Mountain Force. I do think it was very unfortunate what happened with the Great Frontier, or Wild Frontier, yeah. Because I personally think it's your best work, and it was just like, damn, like you didn't really get to like play it live to the world the way you intended, because by the time you got back to it, is like, well, I'm already working on other stuff.
Yeah. New band, too.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was really, like I said, going through a lot, Wild Frontier, and I was very focused on, I feel like I was super intentional, more intentional than I ever been with songs, and kind of wore me out in a lot of ways, you know. So Peace Mountain, I told myself it was like I'm not really so much worried about the story. I just want to embody good energy and enjoy the process. And I had seen over the course, I don't know when it came out, but it was a Tom Petty Wildflowers documentary with Rick Rubin. And they just talked about that process of how they just flushed a bunch of songs out, and they'd do a session, they'd sit on it, they'd think about it, and then they would just keep doing sessions until it was done. So I had done a session last May or March with the Morning Jays, and it was 3 days, and it ended up just being like demo quality. Like it was okay, you know. And I was like, man, like I was frustrated. I was like, but I need to make something that I'm really happy with. And it's, you know, the Morning Jays, it's a lot to wrangle. It's really a miracle when we all get on stage together, because
very eclectic personality group.
Yeah, totally. And that's what I love that.
None of you are like the same in any way.
No. And, you know, Brother Smith, they have their own thing. Jordan Allen, you know, with the Bellwethers. 3 of us are dads. You know, it's a lot to take 3 days during the week to record. And people have day jobs. And I was like, I gotta let that go right now, and I just need to make something for me, because I just need to do that. So I went to Brennan Meek at the Mountain Arts Center. It's where I made an NJ, and 10 minutes from my house. It was like path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Like, so I went in and I played like 30. I flushed out like 30 songs on acoustic, and I just went with songs I've been playing a lot. I think that's where I had been different in the times before in the studio was I hadn't really played a lot of the songs enough before recording them. And these, I feel like I had been really playing them a lot, because I just had time to practice. I hadn't really been gigging a lot. And with the project, I just wanted to work with people that I wanted to work with new people. I wanted to work with people that I was familiar with, and just combine all my circles. And I was like, if I do that, it's going to be brand new. So I went in and I recorded all those, a lot of them and it was actually the day we started tracking was the day, it was the day that the funerals for the fallen officers that were shot in Floyd County last year. It started that day. And that was, I mean, we had those sessions scheduled for a long time, and then that was going on, and I was like, man, should we be here? Like, should we be here right now? Like, there was cops from all over the country there. And I ultimately arrived to, I felt like it was a way of dealing with all that tragedy. And it was right after the flooding had happened.
Yep.
And it was heavy. Like, last summer was really heavy. And
it was.
And as heavy as the years prior were.
I mean, Allen literally got hit by flooding, and that's where the shooting was.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean,
yeah,
it was tough.
It was tough. And the first song we tracked was "This Ain't Supposed to Happen in Our Hometown." A song that I had composed about the shooting, and just trying, to deal and trying to put in some empathy into the situation that others affected by it could listen and could hear. And I felt like that kind of set the tone for the whole thing, you know? And so Don Rogers is someone that I wanted to really work with.
Absolutely incredible talent. If
Yeah.
you all don't know who Don Rogers is, he's probably played fiddle on a lot of the stuff you've listened to.
Yeah.
Like, just straight up.
I wanted him for banjo. That was like, he can do a lot of different things, and we have been, you know, friendly with each other, and we'd composed Peace Mountain, and I knew that I wanted to do Peace Mountain with Charles Wesley Godwin, and I've spent a lot of time being the old guy in the room. Mm-hmm. You know, the Morning Jays, I'm like
the older brother
by like 7 years.
Yeah,
you know. So
is Wes the next oldest one?
Yeah, and for me,
how old's Lafferty?
Oh, sorry, Zach is 30. He just turned 36.
It's Jesse's age.
He just turned 36. Yeah. So
yeah. But other than him.
Yeah. But Zach and I had never been in the studio together. I guess what I meant. But just want to be around older people and like mentor type, just people that are more experienced, you know, in music and in life. And so I got to spend 2 or 3 days with Dawn, and that's another thing. Of last year was a big year of relationships, like really, you know, either relationships that weren't serving me where I was at, serving in a sense of just like, you know, mind, body, spirit, and that were reciprocal, and just looking to make new ones. And I think that, you know, for so long, so many of my relationships were, and friendships, it was centered around like partying. Mm-hmm. You know, that was like the space that is easiest to like get people to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. True.
And you know, that's not where I'm at. So it's been like, well, how do I make friends? How do I do that? Because it's like, that was another thing of, I came out of, you know, the shutdown time was like how important friends are, and like how to be authentic with them and not just, you know, people pleasing or just all about drinking and drugging.
You're like one of my few friends who I feel like I could be like, are you down to do this? And I'm like, this could be an either or question. And most times my friends are going to be like, yes.
What do you mean?
Just like, are you down to do this? And you're like, no.
Okay.
Would you like to do this? And you're like, no. And I'm like, okay. And usually I would be offended, but I'm just like, Nick is just not that. He's just not a yes man. Like, he's not always just going to be like, yeah, I'm down. You're like, no. And I'm just like, I respect that, dude.
Well, that's another thing is like having boundaries, because I've just not always been that way.
Yeah.
Just knowing what I'm willing to do and what I can do, and being able to trust that you understand that it's not personal.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't love you. It's just like, I just, you know.
I told my mom, I was like, with Nick, I'm like, I never try to just be like, here's what you're doing. Because I found out from our experience that like it's so important for you to make sure that it's organic. And if you just aren't feeling it, then you're like, nah.
And I mean, at the same time with that, like, I have room to like do things that I'm not 100% yes to.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's both.
But I think by you doing that though, you're just making sure that the quality of product's good.
Yeah, because I just don't have so much time.
Yeah.
You know, and energy, and just knowing myself, and am I going to be able to be like all in something? Because I want to be able to do that. So, you know, back to the process of like making friends, it was like, okay, I like creating stuff. Mm-hmm. I like, you know, I feel like we've got to know each other through doing this more. For me, like making friends, it's like making music. It's like doing things that I like to do with different people. And that feels good for me. Instead of just BS and, sitting around, which I like to do that too, and dream and scheme and all that stuff. But I'd much rather get to know somebody in a process. It's like playing games. It's like playing like charades. Like there's built-in conversation. There's no pressure on anybody. You're also collaborating on this thing, and you have to be vulnerable. You're bringing things to and I feel like that's how you really get to know somebody. It's not, no offense to anybody that does this, but for me, it's like, I would just spend so much time in bars, like drinking and then talking and nothing ever happening,
I see so many times that, and I'm sure you've experienced this yourself, and it's like, so many artists will be like, dude, I talked to so-and-so, and they were like going to put me on this lineup, and they were going to put me in this festival, and then I never heard back from them. And I'm like, well, were you drinking?
Yeah. That connection wasn't really a connection.
Yeah, it was like you all were both drinking together, and you happened to be in the same place, and they think you're good, and it's like, but they didn't follow through.
That's fleeting. That feeling is fleeting because it's like you're just, and that's just the effects of alcohol. Like you don't really have to be like, fear is kind of flushed out because your system is numb. If you can to me, it's like when you're sober and you're in that space, you're really having to face your fear of insecurities.
Yes. And
really create a space of safety within yourself and the other person. And it's like that to me is when I have a profound experience. Is I'm just all the way there. So.
But that diamond's more likely to be made from that pressure as opposed to shit if you're able to feel and navigate it. If you're just up there and you're swaying because you're a little bit drunk, you're you're just not as thoughtful. It's just that's all there is to it. It's your brain is just focusing on what's in front of you, literally. Yeah. I'm drunk, I need to have sex, or I need to get drunk, or I need to talk to this person.
Yeah, I think any sort of substance, when you're on it, you can lean on the drug. That's what is the most prevalent is that feeling, what and the effects it has to your body. And I just, and it's a killer. I'm not judging anybody that has a drink, but it just, for me, it feels like it's poison to me. And
I'm glad you've come to that realization because I still wish I wish that I could figure this out.
It's a journey, man.
We've had this conversation many times. I'm like, dude, that sounds like such a good idea. But man, that craft beer was fucking delicious.
Yeah. No, I saw.
And it's like, damn it.
No, it's a journey, man, and that's how it doesn't all happen at once, because I'm sure it's different for you now than it was 10 years ago.
Oh, back then I was drinking KG and just being a belligerent shithead.
Yeah.
As opposed to now I'm I don't even really drink to get drunk. I really do find appreciation in the craftsmanship of a craft cocktail or a craft beer.
Yeah.
Because to me it's no different than today. Ethereal is releasing my favorite beer of theirs. It's called Baba Yaga. And I'm like, there's no coincidence that it's about the Boogie Monster. It's a dark black beer that is 13% alcohol. And it's pretty much saying, if you drink this, you might fucking meet the Boogie Monster.
Yeah, for real. I'm like, hearing you say that, I'm like, damn, I don't know about that, bud.
It's like Cat Williams in one of his stand-ups. He's like, death. He's
like,
that don't even sound appeasing. He's like, no, death. He's like, that doesn't sound appeasing either. He's like, I'm smoking. It makes me go deaf. But it's just learning to adjust the quantity.
Temperance.
Yes. And that's with everything. That's with masturbation. That's with how many girls you're trying to talk to. That's with how many songs you're trying to write and drop, or how many podcasts you're trying to drop in a week, or how many miles in a week you run. Because dude, I fucking did that walk, and I walked 86 miles, but guess what? My feet have been fucked up since then.
Yeah.
And it's I have not ran as much in the last year, and physically you can tell I'm going to the gym just as many times a day, but I'm not able to do the cardio that I was doing, and it's like I'm getting beefed up, but it's like I'm not in cardio shape the way I was, and it's like I needed to maybe think about that a little bit more. And it's not that I did the issue wasn't that what I did. It was just maybe I didn't train enough for it.
You weren't prepared.
Yeah,
like
I thought I could.
Your body, your soul, your heart was, but your body wasn't.
I was like, oh, dude, I've ran a half marathon twice. Like I did that easily. Like I could easily do this. And it was like a little bit different than I expected.
Yeah, I think about that a lot with like artists that I see, and they're like, they want. Facebook is a place that people flush out all their complaints about where they're at in their journey, and I just see a lot of people like they want more than where they're at. And I also my question is to anyone out there, it's like, are you prepared? Are you preparing yourself for what you want? Like, are you preparing your body and your mind and your heart and your soul? Like, are you really ready for what you think you want? Mm-hmm. Because in terms of like touring, it's hard to be gone 3 or 4 days touring, like singing every night.
Yeah.
Dude,
when you did the holler or the
get down,
the holler day get down, dude, I was like, man, it was impressive. But I know that you train and you like work your body. You actually are one of the few musicians who I know. You and Lucas Wayne are one of two who I know that like vocally train your throat, and I'm like, that has to be like pretty important, actually.
It is.
And I'm not saying that other musicians don't. I just know that you are two that I know go out of your way to make.
Yeah,
sure
I mean,
that
it gets looked over, and that's a part of the preparation. It's like go ahead.
But I just never saw you even seem fatigued up there.
Yeah,
day. No. And you were talking about how important that is, though. But you obviously have thought about it, and you're like, I'm going to be going all out these 2 days. I got to be.
Well, it's
primed.
Sleep.
Yeah.
It's hydration.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the lack of alcohol comes in. It's like, if I was drinking at all, like I would have to be, and it's hard for me to recover. Like, I mean, I was waking up those mornings like, because I hadn't sang since October, like in a show setting. I mean, we'd rehearsed, but I mean, it's just different when the adrenaline's going. And I mean, I was waking up like with a sore throat, and just having to trust the process of the whole thing, and just taking care of myself to the nth degree to be able to give that performance. And just to what you're saying with, it's like you wanted to go out there and walk those miles, and you did, but like the recovery from it has been so devastating that it's like, okay, so
I'm going to do it again, by the way. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just prepare your feet. I'm sure there's things you can do to like, but you know that now.
Mm-hmm. I needed to learn that lesson.
You did, and I mean, I hope that you're able to do it and your feet don't fall off.
That first day, dude, I woke up and I was like, I'm never going to be able to walk again. And I did walk the next 2 days, but after that, man, it was just like, it's really weird. I felt completely fine, and I rested for like a couple days after it. And I was like, dude, my feet feel perfect. I'm good to go. And I went and ran one day, and I just like started sprinting because I was like, I feel good, dude. And my body just had not told me like not do that because I hadn't tried to test that.
Yeah.
And dude, it was like, I think I literally fractured my feet when I went and ran like that. Because there was maybe like little stress fractures everywhere.
Jeez.
And then as soon as I like started running, I ran like a 5-minute mile that day. And then I didn't run again for like 3 months.
Wow.
And I was like, that was one of the fastest miles I ever ran. And I was like, that's pretty good after freaking 86 miles. And then I was like, man, my foot is hurting really bad. It's like nerve stuff. And I've had a sciatic nerve issue since then. So it's like, I did something in that walk.
Yeah.
But it was worth it.
You broke it open.
We were talking about how like, just kind of, I don't know. I feel like when I was doing that walk, it was so important to my mental, it was like a reset. Yeah. Because I was by myself so much of it. And it was like, I had some performance enhancing things like weed. But I would just be like walking down the road. Hopefully cops don't care, but I was smoking joints in your counties. I'm sorry. I was. I figured, what's the burning bush? I don't know. Maybe Jesus was smoking the weeds.
Hey, I've read that the anointing oil that Jesus used was heavily like cannabis. Like there's like canna, I think is what they call it.
When they would rub it on their head, it would be like, I just got stoned as shit from that.
Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, like, you know, just the healing properties of it.
Dude, do you know Kentucky John Clay?
Yes.
Okay, so he's about to come on the podcast soon.
Okay.
And he is always putting some wild shit on Instagram.
Yeah.
About like tongue-tied and like just mouth breathing and stuff like that. And so for some reason that kind of just brought that to my mind about how the human body is like, you can like lick the roof of your tongue and heal it. There's like a soft palate. He just posted something like yesterday.
Well, in like a lot of practices of meditation, like they tell you to like put your tongue at the top of your, like push, and like pushes everything up. Mm-hmm. So
there's apparently a bunch of nerve endings there, but when you lick the roof, the soft part behind the roof of your mouth, there's a ton of nerve endings there, I guess. And it signals to your body to heal.
There you go.
And I was like, how did you know this? But that's why I love the Kentucky music scene, dude. It's just people are like so interesting. It's like baffling, honestly.
I feel like one thing that comes with if you're full time anything that you're your own boss and you have your time. I think the biggest thing for me, the most valuable thing is time to reflect and explore. You know, that I feel like others that are in a 9-to-5 don't really have the time to explore.
Soul search.
Yeah. I mean, that's the most.
That's probably why they call it daydreaming. Because you're like, I wish I was soul searching, but I'm just daydreaming right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's definitely been the case for me. It's like to have time to reflect and just spend time with myself, you know, and explore those. Because, man, there's just so much information out there about our bodies that we have access to that, you know, especially like TikTok. Dude, there's so much information on there.
I'm not on the talk.
Well, you should.
I've been told that like...
I'm not saying you should, but I'm saying you should.
I love the hippies and cowboys guys. I think they have a great product. Yeah. But I had a friend legitimately text me because I posted a picture of Mike and go, I love that guy's TikTok. And they live in North Carolina. And I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I don't have a TikTok. And apparently it's that viral that someone from North Carolina is like, I listen to your podcast now because I saw a TikTok. I'm like,
it is. It's the most viral platform. I mean, at least
Chinese voodoo, though, and that's what scares me, Nick.
Well, I mean...
social credit scores.
Yeah, I think that's already happening, though. I mean, like, the data mining, like, that's been going on. That's why when you talk about... saunas to somebody, then a sauna comes up on your Instagram.
Yep, there'll be a home Amazon ad for our sauna talk that we had.
Yeah.
And it's really weird.
It's like, to me, it's already happening. I think that...
I like big boobs. I'll just go ahead and say it if you're listening. I know you've been listening. I know that you know it. Everybody knows it. Yeah.
For Christmas, I just went with targeted ads for a lot of... I was like, I'm just going to think about... Because I swear...
You said that during your show... And you were like Instagram targeted ads, and Wes, dude, I don't know how that motherfucker does it. He's so clever, and he's like, why were you shopping on Target on Instagram or something? It was just something silly, but
yes,
he immediately had like a comeback.
Yeah,
and it wasn't even intended towards him. And I was just like, this man, it's like a TV show.
Buddy, I know,
Right.
I know.
So you just bought off targeted ads, essentially. They were like, we know you better than you.
We did Secret Santa, and so we all had like one person to like really gift, but I got some smaller gifts for everyone else. And
because you're suffering from success, bro.
What?
Because you're suffering from success.
What do you mean?
That's a good thing. I don't know. I just heard DJ Khaled say it one time, and I was like, that's a great thing, actually.
My sufferings of success. What is
that?
We're
going to suffer no matter what. And it's like, you might as well suffer from success than anything.
Yeah.
So you got to grind and get successful. Damn, I had to buy a few more presents. I'm in a position, though, to do that. So let's go, baby.
Yeah, I'm thankful to be able to do that. I think 2021, the Christmas of 2021, I was like, I want to give more than I've ever given, because I think I got in this place of, and not even like necessarily just big extravagant gifts, but just thoughtfulness, and the power of gifting. I think that for a long time I was just like, Christmas is so over commercialized. Like I like refuse to participate in that. But it feels good to be thoughtful about someone. And
well, dude, you've definitely helped me be thoughtful for people through Appalachian Pioneer.
Yeah, it's like it feels good to hand a gift to somebody that
here's $1,500 in a Christmas for your kids. And they're like, is this like a joke?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, this is for you. And they're like, okay, like what's the catch?
Yeah.
And you're like, people really wanted to help you. They like to play music and they drink craft beer. And now there's this $1,500 check. That's all I can tell you. Like, it's just magic.
I mean, that's
in a good way.
That to me is the spirit of Christmas. Mm-hmm. That's Christ's love.
I mean, we've talked about it many times. You were who literally inspired me. You and Chris doing that show when you all did the benefit Christmas Miracle, the first one.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy cow, dude! That was the most moving moment of my life.
Wow.
And I was just like, truly, you can use what you love and the talents that you have to not only provide the life that you need, but to help others.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's powerful, because I had built somewhat of a platform through the podcast enough that I had soldiers, people to help do shows and stuff like that. And so it's like, we're talking about teaming up to do one this year. And it's like, dude, we've raised over $30,000 just by caring. Like, it's easy.
It really is.
It's hard work, but it's like worth it.
There's a lot of preparation that goes into it, but I mean, it's a labor of love. And
you said you're a glutton for, you said it to me once, glutton for punishment. And I was like, damn, that is me to a T. It's like, I don't intentionally do it, but I keep putting myself in these positions where I get my ass kicked. But then at the end, I'm like, dude, I feel like a better human though.
Yeah, you get through it. And I mean, challenge is part of the process. So,
well, dude, we're pretty much to the conclusion of this. Where can everybody see you at, like, this year, and where can they find your music? And I guess give dates one more time.
When's this airing?
Probably 2 weeks.
I guess probably the next show then after that would be, I've got to run through the Carolinas 1st of February. But March 3rd we'll be in Lexington, Sunday Best, and it's the album release show for Feel Good Country. The end of March, I'm doing a run through the South. This will all be on my website, nicholasjamerson.com.
Okay.
I'm doing a run through the South with an artist named Rachel Bayman. It's like her album release, like the start of her album release. It's like Greenville, South Carolina, at the Radio Room.
I saw where you posted that. Okay, that's one of my favorite cities in America.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's really cool.
You wouldn't think it would be the way it is.
Well, I saw they had UFC fights there one time, and I was like, what's the catch?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the people to me about the money. I'm like, this little town in South Carolina that's near Asheville, but it's not like really near anything else.
Yeah.
Why would they have you? Oh. When I got there, I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
They don't advertise tourism. Have you noticed that?
I've only been there like twice.
Well, for it being such a like hip little cool town to go to, I've never seen like visit Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah, same.
They don't intentionally, from what I've heard.
It's a fine line.
It's intentionally kept
like protected.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, interesting. I guess it's because Asheville blew up in a way that they maybe were like, we don't want that to happen here.
Yeah. I mean,
we want to be able to drive in our hometown on the weekend
and afford to live here.
Yeah, that too.
I think that's we don't maybe have time to go into.
We don't, but yeah, just tell us, I guess, as far as like your album. Do you know when Peace Mountain's coming out?
It's coming out the weekend of the Sleeping in the Woods Music Festival.
Excellent.
It'll be 19th and 20th of May. So
plug that a little bit real quick, because that's a huge event.
Yeah, it's songwriter festival that we're putting on down in Lake Cumberland, Hidden Ridge Campground. Myself, my management company, Fatback Management, Blue Sun Artists, and Black Mountain Management Group. Putting a songwriter festival on down there. It's a 2-day event. Songwriters from all over the region. Really want to be focused on the region and building the songwriter community. Jim Lauderdale, who's a Grammy, I think he's won Grammys, but he's gotten he's a songwriter. He's gotten cuts by George Strait, I think Willie Nelson. He's going to be doing a songwriter workshop on Saturday. So even if you're, cool. Yeah, it's very cool. If you're not, even if you're not a working songwriter, for me,
I think that would be extremely.
Yeah,
I'm a very novice. Like, I just want to learn how to get better at it.
Yeah, and I think I want everyone to write songs.
Yeah, because we all have a song within us.
We do, and it's just like therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of songs can be written just through structure.
Mm-hmm.
If you just have a structure and guidelines to go by, then it kind of takes the thinking out of it, and Jim will kind of lay some of that stuff out on how to compose songs. And we'll be shutting it down. Katie Tupin is playing. You just mentioned her. I know she's going to be on the podcast. Grayson Jenkins, Scott T. Smith, Bella White, the brother.
She's from Canada, though, right?
Yeah.
So she's like the one non-regional.
Yeah, I mean,
how did that happen? What was like the connection for her to get on it? I mean, she's an incredible songwriter. Obviously,
my manager Dustin mentioned her, and just it's crazy because when her record came out, I really fell in love with that, and
I'm in love with her.
Well, I guess you'll get to tell her that.
I think the fiddle player in her act is her boyfriend. I don't know if he would like that, but I mean, just because there's a goalie doesn't mean Shuck can't shoot. Let's go, baby.
Oh, God. Oh, well, I hope you don't get a restraining order put on you at the festival.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But I love Shuck, but he's never allowed to talk to Bill White.
Yeah, she's never going to come back, so
I'll restrain myself.
But yeah, that's a dream come true. I think that for me going forward with shows, I'm going to do less. I'm not going to be so just all over the place as I've been, and just wanting to do bigger events and bring people together. And education and community is a big part of that for me. The songwriter stuff. I also just want to help people build sustainable careers if they go into this, and just not and just figure out how to get in rhythms with it that are, like I said, sustainable. So this festival is kind of the jumping off point with that, and of like-minded, people. And I will say it's going to be it's very family friendly. I also, something I want to say is there's you're gonna be able to drink and do whatever you want to do, but it's also going to be a very sober, friendly environment. Mm-hmm. That's one thing I've noticed lately is I feel like a lot of people are trying to be sober.
I definitely, yeah. And that's been challenging for my model. It's I feel bad when I work with you or Katie right now, because it's this is sponsored by Country Boy, and it's but it's kind of against your mission almost.
But no, I'm not. I know who I am.
You're not even using it from a judgmental place either. It's I know that too. It's you're just this is where I need to be to do it. The reason we're doing this festival is because I've
just do what I need to do.
Yeah.
And everybody has a different relationship with it. But I just wanted to say that, I think it's easy in those environments to get overwhelmed by just being in the environment, because there's so many people. And that's, I think, my response. That was it was a nervous response for a long time from social anxiety and needing it to calm myself down. And just trying to create an environment where everybody feels safe to just be themselves, in whatever way. And like I said, festivals, it's easy to feel like you just got to go and just push it to the ninth degree. So it's gonna be good for everybody. So just wanted to say that. But it's May 19th and 20th. Tickets are on sale now. After that,
I could never understand what the blind faith thing was, and then I realized once you release,
yeah, it's
like you're doing it in blind faith. Okay.
Yeah, that you don't know who's gonna be on it.
And yeah, I was so confused. I guess I should have just asked you that, but I just kept being like, is blind faith like a promoter or?
So Blind Faith is actually a band.
Okay.
It was like a super group of like Eric Clapton, Steve Winwood, and I think Ginger Baker.
Okay.
From Led Zeppelin? Ginger Baker and Led Zeppelin? I don't know. Anyway, some Jeff Cox, he asked me if we were going to be playing any Blind Faith. Like, you know what? Cox. I will.
He said, I will.
Yeah. Oh, we used to cover a Blind Faith song in college, Dear Mr. Fantasy. After that, though, like I do have some things, but it's not going to be like typical album release tour of playing all over. I kind of allude to that in the introduction, chapter 2. This is another thing with Peace Mountain. I know we've not really talked a lot about that, but it's kind of the second part. It's the Wild Frontier is a trilogy, and Peace Mountain is the second part.
The Empire Strikes Back was the best Star Wars.
Well,
please don't Return of the Jedi the last one. We don't need any dancing little teddy bears.
You didn't like it?
I love Return of the Jedi, but it's like, man, the second one was so badass. You freaking find out like the most epic like cliffhanger ever, and then he falls from a sky mountain, and lives somehow. Yeah. And they also found in the new trilogy, they're like, oh, by the way, we also found that lightsaber that fell 1,000,000 feet. And I was just like, oh, this is just ridiculous, but I love it. Dude, did you watch Andor or?
I haven't watched Andor.
Dude, it's so good. It's kind of slow the first like 2 or 3 episodes. It's one of the best things Star Wars you'll ever see.
Dude, the TV I watch is usually centered around the 2-year-old. So
I feel that.
It's a lot of Toy Story and it's a lot of...
I saw it. Dang it, what is it? I think you were like, we're watching Toy Story for the 15th time today or something like that. It was just like...
It's a lot. She's kind of moved on from that.
Thank God.
Lately, she's been really into Monsters, Inc.
Okay, but Pixar has her.
Yeah, but I just introduced her to Lilo and Stitch because it was like one that I hadn't seen. I'd never seen Lilo and Stitch, so she really likes that.
And you're like, I've not seen this one, so I'm not burned out on myself.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even
there's stories of value and family in that, so it's like,
all of it. And it's like
those movies are always virtuous. It's
are.
like you're never like mad about the life lesson you learned from a Pixar movie.
Totally. And yeah, as a storyteller, I love that.
Dude, do you know that Disney was considered, like someone told him when he worked at a newspaper that he would never amount to anything through being a cartoonist?
Well, he showed them.
He certainly did. That would be one of the biggest, like, ever. Bitch, I fucking dunked all. I fucking created, like, the empire, not just a empire, like.
Yeah, they're the standard
of media.
Yeah.
Just straight up. It's just.
I mean, they own sport,
music,
ESPN,
sports,
and ABC, and
movies. Everything we love, pretty much, they bought because they're a monopoly.
Yeah, there's that side of it, but it's there is a lot of virtues in it, and I definitely,
Well, dude, we're gonna keep talking forever if we keep talking. I love you so much.
Love you too.
I'm really excited for you. This is gonna be a huge year. Can we talk a little bit about the event that we were talking about? Mine. Could this be breaking news for that? It's cool if not.
Let's hold off.
Okay, cool.
Let's hold off.
Something big could be being cooked.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Cool. Well, if you've been listening to the What the Shuck podcast, I appreciate you so much. Or if you're watching the What the Shuck podcast, thank you. Nick was actually the first episode of my podcast that I did in video 2 years ago. And so it's been really incredible to kind of see. I mean, I got nominated for Best TV Personality this year. I don't have a TV show, so I guess it's because of my podcast. So getting that sort of exposure and me wanting to transition to the video is really important. So I appreciate you for kind of giving me that opportunity. So it's been really cool to see where both of us have gone since we did the last episode. Nick's been a father for a couple years now, and What the Shuck's been nominated twice now for top 3 podcasts in Appalachia, so that's pretty cool. But once again, thanks to our sponsors at Thatcher's Barbecue, and really excited for the stuff you got coming up. And you'll be hopefully enjoying this episode and getting some new news maybe when we release it in a couple weeks. So hope you all have an awesome day. Hope you live the dream, and I'll see you next time. What's up, everybody? I am Austin Shuck, the host of the What the Shuck podcast, and also the president of Appalachian Pioneer Program. I am coming to you all from the Germantown Art Gallery in Germantown, Kentucky. They are a Airbnb Plus on Airbnb, so it is going to be an Airbnb that reaches all of the standards that you want from essentially the amenities you would get at a hotel, but that you'll have at a home. And I had the chance to meet some people who have a property here, and we're working on a really cool thing that, so essentially, if you come here and you say #Shuck in the Ville, you will be giving a 10% discount to stay at this property, and they're going to be donating 10% of their earnings quarterly to Appalachian Pioneer Program. So they'll be making an annual contribution at the end of each year to my nonprofit. We're really excited about that. Thank you all so much. I hope you all are having an absolutely great day, and I hope you kill it in 2023. Let's live the dream. Woo!